Hi everybody, Ruth from runhappierpt.com here with postpartum exercise video for week 5. So going to go over progressions that I've been doing this week, new exercises I've added in, working my way towards a couch to 5K sort of return to running program, which I'm hoping to start very soon, but we'll see. So I'm kind of working towards the guidelines from the return to running postpartum guidelines that have been published a couple years ago by several physical therapists from around the world. They recommend waiting until 3 months postpartum to begin running, but they also give a series of guidelines and kind of benchmarks to work towards prior to returning to run. So what I'm doing is trying to work towards hitting those benchmarks, and then after my 6-week OB follow-up, I'm going to request to see a pelvic health PT so that they can clear me for all of the kind of pelvic health concerns, prolapse, leaking, diastasis recti, pelvic pain, pubic symphysis dysfunction, those sorts of things. So once I get the clear from them, the OB, and I've hit all the benchmarks in the article, my plan is to start returning to run using kind of a couch to 5K program. Whether or not that takes me 3 months to get there, we'll see. I'm feeling pretty good so far. The benchmarks that I'm working towards are to be able to do, so it's 10 seconds single leg balance each side, which I can already do. And these are things to do without pelvic floor heaviness, pelvic pain, any incontinence, those sorts of things. So the 10-second single leg balance each side, which I can do, kind of a jump rope or double leg rebound in place for a minute, which I was able to do this week. I added in jump rope in place, and I've been able to do a minute, no problem. 10 double leg forward hops, so progressing forwards as you jump, which I've been able to do. 10 single leg hops each side. I haven't tried that one yet, so that's my goal for this next week, is to try that one. And then 10 running man, which is a funky little like movement that mimics running. So I'm going to try that this week as well. So I'll touch on those next week. And then the other benchmarks that they have are things that need to be assessed by your OB or a pelvic health physical therapist. So those are things I'm waiting on until I get the referral there. But exercise progression wise, I've kind of left off the ones on my back. I did add in a single leg bridge where you keep one leg out straight and then you're using the opposite leg to lift the hips up and down. So focusing on squeezing the butt tight, lifting those hips up as high as I can, keeping the hips level, not letting a hip drop down, and just coming up as high as I can. Trying to avoid hamstring cramp or tightness in the back, so I should feel this only in my butt. So that's a new one there. I added from the basic side plank position, started doing hip dips, so dropping the hips down, coming back up. So I've just been doing sets of 10 on those, and then also holding at the top, doing that hip abduction, so lifting the leg up and slightly back straight, keeping the leg straight, keeping the leg pointing forwards, and I've been doing sets of 10 of those as well. In a forward plank position, I've added forward and backward rocking, so just kind of working the core through this motion here, working towards building back into full push-ups and some yoga postures. Also started adding in hip extensions from here, so lifting one leg at a time, only like an inch off the floor. Really what I tend to do is just try to point the toe. So only lifting the leg up high enough to point the toe and then come back down, keeping that nice plank position. Again, should feel this one mostly in the butt. I feel this one a little bit on the front of my pelvis, so that to me is just a sign that my core, that one really is stressing for my core. So I've not been doing as many of those, but trying to do like a few in more sets to just kind of keep working on that core and pelvic floor endurance and strength. Strength training wise, still doing single leg heel raises, trying to do them on a stair step so I can get a better range, holding the baby if I can so that I get a little extra resistance. Been doing the single leg mini squats, which I think I went over, but I do them in a 3-way pattern. So little mini squat, a balance squat with the opposite foot coming forwards, then sideways, and then backwards, and hovering that non-standing foot in between. I like these even when I'm not recovering from anything on my strength training days because they work a lot of hip stability, intrinsic foot and ankle stability control, which helps with balance and preventing things like plantar fasciitis and such. I also added in single leg pistol squats to a chair. So coming back just to touch the chair and then back up. So this is a nice way to work quads, glutes, knee control, because I'm not letting, as I squat down, I'm not letting that knee cave in, not letting the hips drop down or get wonky, keeping everything square and level as I sit back to come down and touch the chair. Also added in Bulgarian split squats, which are kind of like a lunge with your back foot elevated. And these are really nice because they emphasize flexibility of the hip flexors and the quads on that back leg. So really focusing on keeping that core engaged to keep my hips tucked under, especially as we come down, not letting that pelvis open out into an arched back, not letting that pelvis wing open to the side, trying to keep everything nice and square, only coming as far down as I can till I feel the tension really through that back quad, and then back up. This is a nice exercise to work the quads, the glutes, and again, that kind of hip flexor quad mobility. Added in some wall sits, so just a basic coming down here sort of a thing. Haven't started doing single leg ones here yet, but just added these in for some quad strengthening endurance. And then also added in hip thrusters, single leg hip thrusters. So using a bed or a chair right about the level of the bottom of your shoulder blades. And then straightening one leg out, dropping the hips down towards the floor, and then squeezing those buns to lift up this way. I'm kind of using these to progress the single leg bridge work because it lets me move through a greater range of hip movement, which works the glutes a little more, and it also activates the quads a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty much all the progressions I've been doing this week. Still working on hip stretches, so doing kind of the double leg stack from yoga to work some of those rotators, stretch some of them out, folding forward from here as I can, doing butterfly position, soles of the feet together, trying to drop those knees down to the ground, bending forward as I can, single and double leg hamstring stretches, foam rolling the hamstrings, foam rolling the quads still, kneeling hip flexors stretch, which I went over last time, kneeling or standing quad stretch as well, and then foam rolling throughout the upper back for mobility as well. So mostly sticking with the same old stuff, just kind of adding in some more strengthening. Yesterday I did start working with extra resistance besides body weight. So we have a 25-pound kettlebell that I used for just basic double leg squats. So sitting back in the hips, holding here, coming down and up that way. Just have to imagine the kettlebell here. I also did some where I tried to explode up from the bottom onto my tiptoes. So kind of squatting down and then coming up a little more quickly and onto those toes, just to build towards some plyometric jumping sort of drills. With the kettlebell also did deadlifts, so coming down and up, hinging from the hip, so the knees have a soft bend, not a big bend, but they're also not locked out, just unlocked basically, and then hinging from the hip so the back stays nice and flat, letting the imaginary kettlebell drop straight down towards the floor, and then pulling up from there. Should feel this one mostly in your hamstrings and butt. And then also goblet squats. So toes turned out, feet wider, weight in the middle, lowering down and up this way. If you do yoga, you'll think like a goddess squat. Same thing. So that works a little more adductors and medial quad, a little less on the glutes there. All right. So next week I'll update you on the benchmarks, the single leg hopping and the running man, and what other progressions I've been working on. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please send me a message and be happy to chat with you. I hope all is going well with you all. And once again, this video is for information only. I'm not trying to prescribe any specific exercise to any specific person. So please talk to your healthcare provider before you start any new exercise, especially if you are postpartum, just to make sure that it's appropriate for you and your body and where you're at. So thanks for watching. I'll see you later.